Gabe, that pretty face ain't gonna be so pretty anymore, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's fight. You are tuned in to the biggest, baddest live broadcast coming to you from InsideSales.com, Vengresso, and your moderator for today's fight, Brandon Bornancin with Seamless.ai, and author of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. If you are joining for today's webinar, you are probably one of over 300,000 salespeople and marketers who tuned in on the topic of cold calling versus digital selling in the last 4 weeks. There's been so much jibber jabber and monkey donkey. We've seen protests, verbal sparring, and some seriously angry individuals. I saw people crying, people yelling, people smiling, people dialing, spitting out name calling as a way to get their point across from both sides of the camp. But in case you missed all the jibber jabber, we're going to run this video with the highlights of the smack talking and left-handed jabs each fighter took at each other over the last 4 weeks. Ryan, let's roll the video.
You have to spend a ton of time on social just so you know how to reach out. That's hocus pocus.
You're wrong. I will take 84% of my sales opportunities that came as a warm referral any day over trying to get in someone's door with a 10% success rate.
This is what is killing sales. You and your social garble, man.
Don't you ever call somebody without going into LinkedIn and seeing whether or not you've got a mutual connection that can get you that warm referral.
There has been over 300,000 people participate in the debate, and it is time to take this conversation to the ring and settle it once and for all.
It's going down, Gabe.
I'll tell you right now, there is only one person coming out of this ring, and that person is going to be me.
So today, we settled the debate once and for all between the top two challengers standing on opposite sides of the ring as they go toe-in-toe on which sales methodology is the best for salespeople today. And the best part is thousands of you tuned right in, and you guys are going to crown the next heavyweight champion of the world as guest referees. We will take two polls, one in the middle of the fight and one at the end of the fight. The results from the last vote will in fact determine the winner of the debate, cold calling versus digital prospecting. Now let's get to our fighters. In the red corner, coming to us all the way from San Francisco, from the largest digital transformation service provider globally. He was raised on the streets of San Francisco, Mission District, standing at a tall 5'9" and weighing at a rough, tough 217 pounds. Welcome, Mario Bang Bang Martinez Jr.
That's what I'm talking about, Gabe. You ain't got nothing on me, homie. You ain't got nothing. That's right. Let's do this, baby.
And in the blue corner, coming to us all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah, from the market-leading AI-powered sales acceleration platform. He was raised in the mountains of Utah, standing in at a tall 6 feet, weighing in at a big 185. Welcome, Gabe, the Speedy Gorilla Larsen.
Ooh. That's right, Mario. Hey, Bang Bang's coming for you. I'm coming for you, Bang Bang, right now, right here.
Now look, gentlemen, before the first punch is thrown, we would like all of our referees in the audience, that's you guys. I need the referees in the audience, which means all of you, to put your name and where you're from in the Q&A below. Let's get your name and where you're from in the Q&A chat box below, as we want this to be about you, not about the fighters, even though I can't wait to see who gets knocked out. Let's put your name and where you're from in the chat box so we can answer all of your questions from the boxers tonight. All right. It looks like we've got Beth from Boston, Joe Cantara, We've got Claire Kennedy, Don, Miguel from Barcelona, Jack from Los Angeles, Chardell from India, Christina from Brazil. People from all over the world are joining us tonight. So please chat with us live to hit all your questions from the boxers. We're watching the chat live to answer every question you may have, but enough is enough. Let's go. To begin this fight, we will let each fighter provide a 1-minute opening comment to establish their position. And let's start off in the blue corner, Mr. Gabe Speedy Gorilla Larsen.
What an introduction. All right, Bang Bang, here you've got it coming for you. Here's what I've got to say. This is a real debate. I'm not sure this is something that can be settled in one conversation, but there's only one man walking out of here, and that's going to be me. Now, Mr. Martinez, he challenged me. Whatever he says, he challenged me. I accepted. I accepted it. Now, he's going to argue that the phone's dead, and he's going to say tweeting at people is how you close deals. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I stand for, and I want you to know, I want you to stand with me. Number one, social selling is not the answer to every question in sales. Number two, you can't build pipeline by hanging out on Facebook. Number three, YouTube. It's not an activity that helps reps meet their monthly quota. Spending 8 hours on Twitter, it's not the way to go. The phone isn't dead, and most of all, you've got to find the communication channel that works for you. That's what I'm about. Mario, over to you.
Gabe, the man Larsen, you ain't got nothing on me, homie. You know
Is
what?
that a mouthpiece? Do you have a mouthpiece in right now?
Oh, the spit and everything is flying out with the mouthpiece. I got to take that mouthpiece out just to be able to make this clear as mud for you, my friend. Listen up. For everybody who's listening out there, you're coming in to learn when, how, and why should I use digital prospecting, and if and when I should be using the phone call, right? So my man Gabe Larsen, let's make no mistakes about this. Gabe, you challenged me. I think we're getting some feedback here, Ryan. Wait.
Gabe,
I think we're getting Ryan. Hold on one second. I think we're getting some feedback from somewhere. There's a bunch of noise that I hear back on the background. That having been said, what I want to talk to you guys about and what I'm going to demonstrate to you guys is that no, the cold call is not dead. But I will say this, that it is dying. And we, as modern sellers, we've got to be thinking about how to connect with our buyers the way the buyers want to connect with us. And that might mean a cold call, but it definitely does not exclude leveraging digital. And for my good friend Gabe Larsen, who had a narrow-minded view of this thing called digital means social, wrong. And we'll talk about that in a little while.
All right, Gabe. Mario, I appreciate your battle, your punches in the left corner. Larsen, Mr. Larsen, what do you have to say as your rebuttal to Mr. Martinez tonight?
Yeah, look, I mean, here's the bottom line, and we're going to get to this. There's different methods for different people. I'm interested to hear how Mario's going to spin his approach and see if he backs on attacking me on the phone. And I want to see what he has to say about social selling because, Mario, I think we pushed it too far. There's been too much talk on social. There have been too many people saying LinkedIn answers every problem in the world, and it's just not true. So I want to get into it today and hear how you're going to spin your answer regarding it.
So I love it. So you're going to answer a question with a question. All right, I got it. I'll take that one, Gabe, for you. So listen, here's the reality. The reality is that buyers are going to buy the way buyers are going to buy. And our job as salespeople and sales leaders especially is that we cannot turn a blind eye. We cannot put those blindfolds on. The whole entire discussion, I think, started as a direct result of when Gabe said, just pick up the phone and call somebody. And I responded back with, wait a minute, you got to do a little bit of research. That's like telling your kid to get in the car and put a blindfold on while driving. Do a little bit of research first and know thy buyer. And I think it's super important because digital has brought a whole new world. And I like to think of it as the fish on the wall syndrome. Gabe, you may remember this, or wait. You might be too young to remember this, my friend. But you may remember, and all of you were listening, all the sales leaders, the days and times when we walked into someone's office. When we walked into someone's office, the first thing that we were trained to do was to look for that big fish on the wall, the family photo, some sort of item that could help us build that relationship. And that is what digital is all about. That is what digital allows you to be able to do and to be able to see those things.
Buzzer. That's a wrap for the round. Wow. All I know is my biggest takeaway of that round, traditional cold calling is dead, but cold calling with artificial intelligence is not. Cold calling with AI is a powerful method to build pipeline. Now let's move on to the second round. Question number 2. Mario, Gabe has argued that you are just another social seller trolling social media sites. And you've argued back that social selling is dead and that digital selling is the answer. What is digital selling? And how is this different? You're on the clock than digital selling. Go.
All right. The difference between... You buzzing me again?
Go.
The difference between social selling. So all you sales folks and sales leaders out there, yeah, I would say so social selling is dead. It's too cliche. It's old school, right? Digital prospecting is really looking at leveraging all the channels, text, email, video, social, as an example, AI, right? These are all the digital prospecting methodologies that we can engage with a buyer. For example, if you were to send me an email to Mario@Vengreso, at VENGRESO.com, for today only, you're going to see an out-of-office reply that I've got, which has a video message embedded. But the crazy part about this is that with video, as an example, we can engage with our buyers in no other way than we have before through a phone call. They can see me live and build relationship right there, because the science shows that you could actually begin to build trust by seeing someone's face. And that's why social video or selling with video has become so popular. That's just one example. Feel free to send me an email. It's an out-of-office response, and you'll see what I'm talking about, Mario@Vengreso.com. And maybe, Ryan, you can throw that into the chat to everyone. But the point is that there are many different channels. And sales leaders, when we're down and out, when we're sitting there saying, hey, we're not meeting our number, what do? The first thing we go back to is the KPIs that we're monitoring and measuring. And we tell our salespeople another round of cold calling, another round of reaching our prospects. No, that's not what that's going to improve. And the stats prove that. And every one of us as sales leaders, every one of us, because I'm a 21-year veteran, vice president of sales, my last role, every one of us need to figure out how we can engage with our buyers better, because they've gotten a lot smarter, and salespeople need to get as smart as the buyers.
Wow. Dropping some knowledge, some right hooks, some left jabs. Gabe, I want to hear the rebuttal, because that was fire, and I'm sure you're the fireman coming in. So let's hear it.
Yeah, man, I got two things to say. One is I just want to make sure we're on the same page on cold calling. Look, you guys, if you're using cold calling just to pick up a phone book and call top to bottom, you don't know who you're calling, you don't know what you're saying, and you're using scripts, you're probably out of this world. Cold calling has evolved. Think about cold calling enabled by AI or cold calling with AI. What if I could tell you the optimal people you should go after? What if I could tell you the best thing to say? What if I can tell you the best time to call? What if I can give you a number that they're more likely to pick up the phone on? What if when it's ringing, I can feed you insights so you don't have to spend the 17 to 20 minutes people are doing researching? It's that type of interaction that we're saying cold calling is alive and well, but it's changed into cold calling enabled with AI. Now, what Mario came back with is social. And he came back and said, there's other strategies you got to think about. My problem, Mario, is I feel like people get caught up in this world of too much social. And they say, hey, what I want to be doing is using social. My buyers might not be on that. How do I reach out to people if my LinkedIn isn't working, if my social avenue isn't working? That's where the phone comes back up. And I just can't listen and say that social is going to be the answer to reach 90% of your audience, because I don't think every buyer in the world's on LinkedIn.
That's a great point, Gabe. And the reality is that the statistics show, generally speaking, across all industries, that less than 10% of our buyers are responding and reaching out via phone. Now, you could say it's different based upon industries. Maybe it's different if you're calling on, I don't know, the automotive industry versus technology. Is entirely possible. Results can be slightly better or slightly worse. The reality is, though, is that if we think about the most important thing in sales, and that is the most important way that we've always grown our business, has usually been as a result of referrals. And that's where I would start out with, for whether you're picking up a phone and calling someone, or you're actually reaching out to a prospect, Gabe. You know, the stats don't lie. Sales Benchmark Index, and you know this stat just as well as I do, said that buyers start their buying process 84% of the time through a referral. Avande said more than 50% of buyers consult third-party sources before consulting a company's sales force. And IDC said 73% of executives prefer to work with sales professionals referred by someone they know. The reality is that we have a network of people. The days of that Rolodex, remember that old school Rolodex we used to have on our table? We'd flip that ball, we put the business cards inside there, A, B, C, D. I don't even know if you could buy that thing anymore. The reality is that we've got to step up to the times. And our digital Rolodex can be found using social networks like a LinkedIn. But it is not the end-all, be-all, as you alluded to, Gabe. But you cannot turn a blind eye. LinkedIn, video, text, AI, and we'll get into some of these resources. In fact, on that out-of-office reply email, and later on, we're going to send you something that shows a cadence, Gabe. And I don't advocate 8 hours of tweeting. That's ridiculous. That's stupid, right? But what we do advocate is a 30, 30, 30. And that is what we should be allocating to some digital prospecting on a daily basis. And I'll tell you what that means more later on.
All right. Wow, what a round. Round two. Biggest takeaway from both sides sounds like cold calling, cold selling, digital selling, social selling, any of these sales channels, you need to be leveraging data and you need to be leveraging research to connect with your buyers, connect with your ideal customer personas, and deliver value to them. You can't just be picking up the phone or tweeting randomly about how great your product is, or going down, sending 1,000 tweets, making 100 calls, shooting out 5,000 LinkedIn messages about you and what you have to offer. You have to research the buyers, deliver value, connect with them, engage, and then work to lock in the opportunity. Wonderful. So let's move on to round number three. The fundamental question is, what prospecting methods build the best pipeline? Gabe, what prospecting method answers this question?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Brandon. I think that is you hit right down to the bottom of it. I mean, what we're trying to kind of spar on today, everybody, is, and I think it's plaguing the whole industry, people aren't hitting quota, and pipeline is king. The question is, what's the best way to do that? Now, I usually take a step back right here and say, look, when it comes to reaching and doing kind of a strategic outreach initiative, a lot of people use the word cadence. And my definition of a cadence is a sequence of activities to increase contact and qualification rate. So the question is, how do you use different methods to not only contact, but educate your buyers? Now, we've done some research, Brandon. Some of it's fairly new. We went out and just said, hey, we want to talk to sales and marketing leaders. And I think this is a good indication. Got almost 400 of them. And we just said, hey, how likely are you to respond to different communication methods? And we said direct mail and phone and LinkedIn and email. Now, the truth of it is there was some slight differences, but one of the takeaways I had was there's actually a lot of goodness across each of those methods. And truthfully, there was two that were a little lower. When it came to text messaging, that was a little bit lower, and voicemail was a little bit lower. But the problem I'm finding is that each buyer is different, and Mario alluded to this, and I got 3 quick examples I wanted to mention. I was on the phone with Katie Bullard from Discover.org. She's an executive up there, and she said, I still listen to my voicemail. I love when reps use that. We had Stephen Brody from MuleSoft. If you remember this not too long ago, he wrote an email, he wrote a LinkedIn article and said, Stop emailing me. Pick up the phone. And he kind of argued against call avoidance tools that just really focus just on email. And he actually put his number there. He said, if you want me, you got to pick up the phone. We just ran a test, Brandon, where we literally tested a direct mail, a handwritten note versus an email. Everything was the same except for the medium was different to our audience. And you know what? That handwritten note card was 10 percentage points better at getting the appointment and not followed through the pipeline. My point is on this, that when it comes to these different methods, and Mario, I got to give him a little credit because he alluded to this. There's one answer when it comes to which method is best, and the answer starts with T and ends with T, and it's test. You got to know your customers, and you got to figure out which method they're actually responding to. I may not have the answer, but you need to know that there's 7 of them. You got phone, voicemail, email, direct mail, social, text message, video. All of those methods are available for you to reach out. The question is, which one works for your audience, and have you actually tried them?
Wow. Wow. Right before the buzzer. Mario, what's your rebuttal there? Gabe threw some high and low punches over there in the ring. You know, what do you have to say for yourself?
I want to actually, Gabe mentioned 7 of them, and there's actually an 8th, and that is live events, right? So we cannot discount live events. And one of the best part about using live events is figuring out who that buyer is. We've seen deals close as a result of a salesperson understanding where an executive was going to be and showing up to that conference and doing all the pre-work and research, right, prior to actually attending. But let's break this down a little bit more in terms of what's the best one. Gabe's right. We're right. Test. The reality is that some buyers may not respond to a call. What we believe here at Vengresso, when we teach digital sales prospecting, we want to warm up every cold call, if at all possible. So what does that look like? Well, if you look at like a cadence, I talked about a 30-30-30. If you email mario@vengresso.com, you'll get this. You'll also get this as a download at the end of this webinar here, which is basically looking at just LinkedIn alone, just LinkedIn. Now, I'm not saying LinkedIn is the end-all be-all. This is just a social cadence with LinkedIn. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, 30 minutes in the evening. You start out with looking at who's checked your profile. Look at pending open invitations. Welcome your new connections. And this is the mistake that most reps make. You opt to connect with somebody. They actually connect with you, and you immediately go into your pitch. And one of the things that you need to take the time to do, and this is super important if you're a sales leader, you need to take the time to actually build a message that actually adds value. For example, you might start that message out with, generally, when I connect with VPs of sales, there are 3 problems that they are trying to solve. Number 1, create more conversations. Number 2, create those conversations with more qualified buyers. And number 3, to get my folks to actually have a bigger pipeline. There are 2 pieces of content right below that actually answer the question, whatever it might be. I'm actually giving you a script that we utilize and we teach. And when you do that, now you're actually offering value. And that's something tangible that if they see an article, a piece of content, how to, 7 things, a webinar even, the 30-minute webinar that's ungated, that your salesperson is offering as a value-added asset, that goes a long way when looking at sending out welcome messages. And there is an art to this. It is no different than the art that you would use to emailing a prospect. Why, though, do so many reps suck with email responses? It's because they're pitching. And this is why us as sales leaders, we need to take the time to sit back and look at this messaging. Calling or an email or digital message that you send, you've got to take the time to review that and see where's the value.
All right. Break it up. Some great points from the man, the myth, Mr. Martinez. Mr. Larsen, what's your rebuttal to that? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree to disagree. Mario and I have become more friends during this whole battle, so I'm starting to like some of this stuff you say, Mario, some of the stuff, not all the stuff. I got 3 points for you. Number 1, I don't agree with the 8th method. When we're going to events, you're always finding you're using something, you're getting a phone call to figure out if they're going to be there. You're going to use email to figure out if they're going to be there. So I feel like that's an outcome. That's not a method to reach out to somebody, but that's maybe a debate for a later day. The second thing I think Mario hit on, and it's something I've been finding to be very important. And Mario, I almost want to hear your opinion on this, because you said it, and I agree with this one. I'm getting hit up often, and people are using little glitchy things to hit me up on LinkedIn or email, and truthfully, even the phone. Sometimes they'll go to my Twitter and they'll, hey, you like the San Francisco Giants, or hey, I went to UCLA, you went to college X, Y, and Z, and they start with something so far away from it, and then they try to weave into the conversation around sales, and I'm just like, wow, that was like it just didn't work at all. And I love when people don't waste a bunch of time trying to find funny stuff about me when they hit me with problems. Look, I run a sales and a marketing team, and my biggest problem is building pipe. My job's on the line. I got the target on my back. So when someone approaches me and says, I'm working with other sales and marketing leaders, they're struggling with building pipeline, this is how we do it, I listen in. I want to hear that, because they're personalizing around the persona, not the person. And I think with all the social garble out there, doing all the research on LinkedIn and Twitter, people are spending too much time finding little fun facts. But if they'd study their customers and know what really affects them, they'd solve the persona problem. That's what I want to talk about. That's number two. Lastly, guys, research, we just have to be careful on it. I don't want to be anti-research, but right now my data is saying the average sales development rep has 74.2 accounts, is doing on average 17.3 minutes of research per account. That's 21 hours just for those accounts. Is that what you want to be doing? Is there not a way to automate? Is there not a way to feed that rep? And so be careful on research. Just be careful. And that's my word of caution. That's all I got, Brandon.
Wow. Yeah, I love it. That 17 hours of research per account is a lot. I think the biggest takeaway.
17 minutes. 17 minutes. 20.
17 minutes. Sorry, 17 minutes is a lot. Times this, the number of accounts. It could get overwhelming. It could be too much. When you could just quickly research, go to their website, figure out who do they work with, who are their clients, who are their personas. There's tools out there like Seamless.ai, like Nudge, like paid databases that you can get to get this data to automate all the research and to get right into your CRM. We can automate that. But the biggest takeaway, it sounds like, that both parties agree. There are 7 to 9 methods. Mario thinks there's 8. Gabe thinks there's 7. I think that there's 9, that can be utilized in prospecting. We've got the phone. You got to pick up the phone. The phone will make you money. You got to text. To be honest, the VPs, the C-suite, all of these individuals, they don't have time all the time to pick up the phone. But when they're in a meeting and you text them, they're going to get that. They're going to be able to read it, and they're going to be able to get back to you. Voicemail. Don't be scared to leave a voicemail. Some people are scared to leave a voicemail, and they're like, oh, the prospect will know that I called them. The prospect already knows that you called them with the local dial number or your personal phone number. So just leave the voicemail, drop an impression anyways with value. Email. 4th, social. You got to leverage social. And then obviously the new and emerging video, direct mail, bringing direct mail back. And then the much debated live events. And then I'm going to throw one more in, a cold visit, which hasn't been done in decades. What if you just showed up, bring some cupcakes or pizza, who knows, whatever. These are the ones that you need to be leveraging, these 7 to 9 touches, and test each one. You got to leverage data to find the one that brings the best results. So let's go to a poll to the audience.
Hey, Brandon, real quick, I do want to address because Gabe asked about this, about 2 things. One, addressing to buyer persona as opposed to the individual buyer, and 2. Leveraging personal info, right? And saying, hey, I saw that you went to, whatever college you might have went to. Interestingly enough, I agree that you must, as a salesperson, need to understand your buyer persona, and you need to address. Generally, you can gather details and information about a VP of whoever it is you might be calling on, and really grab content that maps to that buyer persona. That's correct. However, if in fact, and this is a great example, we have a client. That client is the head of sales of a 300-person sales organization. And when I was prospecting to him personally, I'm a selling CEO, right? I never step out of the gate of selling. And when I was prospecting to him, I went to his, in this case, LinkedIn profile. And what I found live and in a training classroom, which I did not know before I clicked on his profile, was that he actually had shared a piece of content that was mine. It was me speaking, right? Now, if you're a salesperson, you likely probably aren't producing videos that your sales prospects are going to be sharing. Can you? Absolutely. Should you? Maybe. Let's put that in your last 30 minutes of the day, but you're doing something. But if you took those insights and you grab hold of them, Gabe, and you look at them and say, how can I use this to find the big fish on the wall? That's how you're going to leverage digital insights to actually develop a more personal, closer relationship with a potential buyer. Would I start a conversation out saying, hey, it looks like you went to Cal Berkeley and I went to Cal Berkeley. You graduated in 2001 and I never graduated. I actually transferred to St. Mary's. Would I start a conversation out that way? Generally not. But if I've tried all other avenues, then I might leverage that piece of content. So buyer persona, absolutely. Personalize it, yes. And then the other thing too is I think we also need to take a step back as well when we look at this, Gabe, and we need to look at the way the buyers are engaging. Some people say buyers aren't on social. Fine, no problem. So then you can text them. Fine, no problem. Then you can send them a video message. How do you send them a video message? It doesn't have to be through email. You can do that through text. And believe it or not, Gabe, believe it or not, when someone comes into our funnel and they submit their phone number, that means that they're ready for us to make a phone call out. And we send them an email, place a phone call, and shoot them a text. And guess which one gets the highest level of response within a matter of an hour? Text. And that text has a video message for them. And that's how you can leverage some of the capabilities of digital prospecting so that you're not just a one-trick pony. But I will say this to Gabe's point. In every deal that we have ever closed, it always starts for us, at least on digital or referral. But we use almost nearly all the channels, including moving that conversation offline as quickly as you can to an online face-to-face video collaboration or phone call.
All right, we're gonna take a poll from the audience. I want to ask the audience that's right, you guys, who do you think is winning the fight thus far? Is it Mr. Mario Martinez or Mr. Gabe Larsen? Or are they both right? Let's go to the poll. And while they're cutting to the poll, I've got two questions from the audience. One, Mario from Craig over at IHMS. Most of my clients are limiting or not allowing access to social media through their office systems. How do you get around that? And I know Gabe's got a knockout hit here, right? Because I know Gabe's answer, which I'll let him say it, pick up the phone. But I'd love to hear from you, Mario. What do you do if you upgrade all those social media accounts and, company blocks it all? How are you going to handle that?
This reminds me, Brandon, of 15 years ago when companies blocked a little thing called the internet, right? You couldn't get to Google through your internet browser, and IT actually blocked that. Like, I don't know specifically what your role is, but if you're happy there, then pick up the dang phone and send an email and use a video in email, right? Those are some other digital prospecting methodologies. But my best advice is for any company that hasn't figured out the fact that this thing called the internet exists, just a small little thing, I'd go to another company. That's my answer.
Great. We've got one more question that we'd like to highlight from Victoria to Gabe. Gabe, when using cold calling, how do you identify how the prospect wants to be communicated with? What if they don't like text messaging? What if they don't like voicemails? What if they don't like being connected with on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter? How do you leverage phone and all these different channels to figure out their preference of communication to connect and identify new opportunities?
Yeah, Brandon, I think this is the tough one. And Victoria, I feel your pain. But the thing that we're getting into, and you've always got to watch this preference versus results, right? I mean, a lot of sales reps struggle with the phone because they're nervous that they're going to offend people. And so they say, hey, I don't want to pick up the phone. When we ask a lot of busy decision makers, they say, hey, you got to call me 5 or 6 times just to get me on the phone because I'm busy. And you've got this feeling. And look, I'm a sales rep. To me, the game is about results. Now, that doesn't mean I go knock on people's doors and yell at them or something to get the sale. But sometimes you got to say, you know what? I certainly want to watch for preference, but Victoria, go for results. So if you're picking up the phone and it's working and people are answering and you're having a dialogue, you're going to get probably 1 or 2 of those are going to say, don't call me. And you know what? 2 out of 10, you just got to live with those results. That's why I've knocked doors for a lot of my life as well. Like, I got slammed. That's part of sales. Now, you may have some people that say, quit spamming me on LinkedIn. And you know what? If you're getting results on LinkedIn, continue with it. Same on email. So watch out for that word preference. I'd shove that aside a little bit and say, go with results and then stick with it. Test a couple of them. And if it moves the needle, run it.
Great. And I know you guys have both answered some great questions, and we've got the polls that we'd like to announce. But I got to go to my good friend, Mark Bonner, who's in attendance tonight. And he asks a great question around how do you personalize? What are your feelings about sales personalization? Hey, Gabe, saw that you went to the Ohio State University. Love those Buckeyes. Did you catch the game? What's the score? What's the weather like over there? Or, hey, saw that football, UCLA. How do you feel about getting personal with research on the persona level versus focusing exclusively on getting personal and delivering value on the company level?
Mario,
is that for Gabe or is that for me?
And this is for both of you. This is like a two-punch battle.
Yeah. Mario, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, no problem, Gabe. So that's a really great question. Generally speaking, in our digital sales prospecting classes, our selling with social, or even our selling with video classes, what we're actually teaching folks how to do is leverage that personal information and use that in a way that doesn't seem awkward. I'm going to give you an example, Brandon, and for Mark who asked this question. Look, if you go to a networking event and you find out that person went to St. Mary's College, right? That's where I ended up transferring to from Cal Berkeley after 5 years. I'm going to actually take that time to be able to bring up something about St. Mary's because that's what you do in person. And so my best rule of thumb in training, when we're training individuals, the best rule of thumb is whatever you would say in person, it is okay to do it online from a social perspective or from a email perspective, like using digital prospecting. But it is how you introduce it. For example, if you said, hey, I noticed that you had 3 kids, 7, 12, and 15 on Facebook. Okay, creepy, right? So that's a little different in terms of using that personal information. But you take that data point, and now you're looking at starting conversations. For example, if I know that someone has children, I may actually start using Zoom, which has virtual backgrounds. I may actually start with some sort of personal picture on the background with a virtual background. And immediately they're like, oh, are those your kids? Yeah. Do you have kids too? Yeah. But I knew that information, right? So it's a way to be able to start and trigger that conversation. So use it as a way to create conversation in a normal way that you would if you were shaking someone's hand is the best advice I can give.
Yeah. And
I got to jump in on that because I know you came out of the gate with this one.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mario said it right. If you're going to walk up to a stranger on the street and you're going to shake their hand and say, hey, you went to UCLA. I went to UCLA, man. Do you know Tom? They're going to be like, what are you talking about? I feel like the personalization to the person, Brandon, there's absolutely a place for it, and it's way more effective on call 2, meeting 1, when you actually have had a little bit of rapport.
It's a great idea.
No
one ever preaches that. Get more personal the farther you move down the pipeline.
And the more you go that direction, the more I think it's powerful, especially if you can bring it in naturally into the conversation. The thing I think we get lost on, right, is we search for those nuggets for so long that we lose out on the fundamental point of prospecting, which is conversations. If I spend an hour researching somebody, how many conversations do I have, Brandon? 0. I got to find a way to get to conversations faster. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not 100% opposed to it, but my rule of thumb is personalize around the persona. That's how you start. I want people to call me and talk about my problems and my needs. And then as we go down the relationship, then you personalize around the person. That's my rule of thumb.
Wow. That was great. Guys. I appreciate both your perspectives. There was an amazing question by Craig, which I know a lot of salespeople and marketers are struggling with out there. And let's go to the poll. I know we've delayed this long enough. Who's winning thus far? Brian, if you could check out the poll results, we want to know who's winning.
Look at that. Mario, you got me by about 0.5% there.
Just a hair, baby. Just a hair. It ain't over yet, Gabe. But you're still going down, baby.
This ain't over
All right.
yet.
That means that we got to get back into it. Let's get back into the ring. Enough of this. Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you too. Lovey-dovey. We're here to fight tonight. So, Mario, if you're going to coach a sales team today about building a strategic prospecting initiative to build a bigger, better, faster, stronger pipeline, what would you say?
Well, first of all,
are the best strategies?
It's a great question. We have a great podcast done with Bryn Tillman, our Chief Learning Officer, on Vingresso, and it's I didn't include it in the download, but if you email me, mario@vingresso.com, I'll have the team send it over to you. Or you can just go to Vingresso, and it's called 10 Steps to Implementing a Digital Selling Program. And the answer to that question, to coaching a sales team on what they should do to building a strategic prospecting initiative. Do you know how many sales teams that we've worked with? Now, keep in mind, we have over 80,000 professionals that we've worked with, okay? How many of them we walk into a training presentation and we say, okay, guys, pull out your top 25 prospects for the month. And we get the blank look. Silence. You see, here's the problem with the industry, and every one of you who are listening in. If you don't have a target by which you're going after, and day in, day out, you're coming in and you're just picking up the phone and calling whoever it is that marketing gives you, or calling in off some list without really a target and understanding what a strategy is, shame on you, right? So the first step is you need to make sure that you're going through the 10 steps of a digital prospecting methodology. That includes, what are the right tools? Should we baby step this? Are we going to start with training, selling with social, and then move into video and other methodologies like AI? Are we going to leverage tools that will help enhance? Somebody asked in one of the questions about utilizing tools that automate responses on LinkedIn as an example. So the answer to those questions are, the corporation or the individual should determine what are the results that they're looking for. And at the end of the day, the results that they should be looking for are driving more conversations with more qualified buyers, period, end of discussion, right? And if you can accomplish those things using tools that help automate things, but that do not take away the organic, authentic self, great. It's no different than the Sales Loft or the Outreach or the Prospect.io tools or InsideSales.com tools that allow you to be able to bring in some of these automation capabilities. But the problem is crap in on email or crap in on a phone call is still going to look like crap on LinkedIn or on social or on a video. So you've got to be able to, again, I go with personalized to the buyer. The default, the backup, is personalized to the persona. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that was great. And we've actually got an important question that just came in that I'd like to move to. We hear, this is from Phoebe at Riskflow. Cold calling is hard. Rejection is hard. Getting punched in the face day in and day out, trying to prospect, connect, and lock in your prospects on the calendar is hard. How do you handle the rejection from any of these channels? Cold calling is quite tough because it's in real time. How do you handle the rejection, or how do you overcome the rejection when a prospect tries to connect with you live? And then how do you handle it on social? Great question, Phoebe. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, that's a great one. Gabe, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, why don't I tell you just a quick story, because this was kind of a life changer for me in sales. I think it'll answer the question. I did door-to-door, quote-unquote, sales for a couple of years, and I remember one time I'm actually overseas, and I'm knocking on a door, and this gentleman answered, big old guy, and boy, was he scary, and he just said, "What the bleep are you doing here?" And again, I'm 19 years old. I'm scared out of my mind, and I'm just like, hey, maybe I should run. Funny thing is, this nice little lady taps on the shoulder, and kind of pushes him out of the way and says to me, you're just having a bad day. What can I help you with? And I remember from then on, and I'm not saying this works every time. I don't know if there's a silver bullet answer on this, Brandon, but it just was a psychological change for me that when someone rejects, when someone's having a bad day, you may take the brunt of that. Doesn't mean you need to take it personal. They may be struggling. They may have a bad day. They may have an emergency. If I can get that mindset that I'm just looking for people who want to help, who need help, and if I can find those people, I want to do it. I saw a stat the other day that said 75% of Americans don't want to go to the doctor. Nobody wants to answer the sales phone call, but they need me. Have you seen the InsideSales.com platform? It helps people build pipeline. If I can find those people who are struggling, I know I've got a solution. And so for me, it's a mentality change.
Yeah, that's a great
I want to mention something. Brandon, what I'm going to mention is look, so this is my motivational, kick right here, right? The reality is that salespeople represent 5% of the world's population. I think that's the number, 20 million globally out of, not 20, not 5% of the world's population. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Out of the workforce, excuse me, wrong stat. It's a very low percentage of number, right? And maybe that stat is wrong. If I'm wrong, don't quote me on it. The reality is that we do what very few other people do. We rest our mortgage, our car payments, our healthcare insurance, our families, everything off of holding a quota to help an organization hit a number. But remember this, sales is the art of helping. That's what it's about. And if you can think back every single time that you get rejection, no now doesn't mean no forever. It just means no, not right now. Go find the next person that you can help. That's what I believe sales is all about. And I used that quote in the documentary film that Salesforce.com did that I had the privilege of being part of. And I truly believe sales is the art of helping. And every time you get down, you got to go back to that. Sales is the art of helping. Who am I going to help next?
Yep. And you got to have that purpose, that mission. Why are you here waking up every day, working 15 hours a day, 10 hours a day? You know what? When you keep getting rejected, like, dude, you're here in sales to help your prospects pay for their mortgage, pay for their kids' college, make all their dreams come true. And by helping them achieve their goals, their responsibilities, their KPIs, they're going to be able to provide for their family. And I think that's critical to do. And I love that advice. And Gabe, your advice around just get over it, like people are having a bad day. We get stories all the time. InsideSales.com does, Seamless does, Vengresso does, where you're cold calling, social selling someone. They tell you to go jump off a bridge, and then you reach out the next day and they're ready to book an appointment with you or even buy a contract or a license from you. So that's great advice. Thank you so much. Another great question we've got to answer from Claire. GDPR. Oh my gosh. If I get another email, another text, another call, right? Everyone's receiving thousands of emails, the press, the news, Facebook, Google, the world's ending. Salespeople are going to be shut down by GDPR. The question from Claire, great question, by the way, from Serious Decisions. How is GDPR changing prospecting today? Mm-hmm. Why don't we start with Gabe since he's ready to go?
Yeah, I think she said, I'm looking at the question, right? She said, now you can't email, and yes, you can still cold call, but it's not a sturdy channel. Claire, this is, obviously we're talking right now not about the States. It'll be interesting to see how the U.S. kind of moves based on some of the things happening with Facebook, with data, and this big GDPR movement overseas. That set aside, we're obviously talking about EMEA more so in this instance. I do think actually there's a lot to still be determined here. You're talking about something that just went live, and we'll see what actually happens. Yes, we know that you can't be spam emailing anymore. Personalization is going to be key. Does that mean that email goes down the drain? No, we just got to find a way to use it more effectively. To your point, does it mean the phone is completely dead? No, but we got to navigate around that. Does this mean that social potentially starts to move forward a lot more in EMEA, where in some cases you've got other tools besides LinkedIn that people are doing? Maybe that's going to be the answer. And so I don't think we can completely stop. You have to be compliant as well as much as you know as I know. I've been working with my legal team on it like everybody else, but how are we going to find an avenue to get it? Right now, I think there's a couple quick answers. One is partner marketing. You've got people who have opted into things like the American Association of Inside Sales or the the Association of Professional Sales over in EMEA. They've got an opt-in data list there that people said, hey, I want to be part of that. Now, they can send it. You may not have that email. How can you get access to their list? It doesn't mean email's dead. You've just got to find other avenues where people have opted in. So we're going to have to get creative, but certainly we're just a couple days in, and I don't know if we've got all the answers as we're learning with everybody.
I'll make a comment on this. I'm going to preface this with, I am not an attorney. However, like every other business, and the fact that our breadth and depth is so far wide reaching, we have spent hours, countless hours on this particular topic. So I'm going to answer this with 3 words: referrals, and more referrals. And we all know in sales that that's the best way to be able to get into someone's office. So if your organization is ultra conservative, and they have said that you are not allowed to cold email anymore, then you go leverage referrals. And of course, Gabe mentioned LinkedIn is a great place to be able to figure out who knows who, right? The other thing too is hopefully your marketing department, and the sales leaders, hopefully you're listening, and hopefully your marketing department has worked with its legal team to figure out how to be able to email an individual. For example, if someone's coming in and they're downloading an asset from your site, you can implement certain boxes that they would check that they agree to your privacy policy, which includes that they're being added to your messaging list or ability to be able to create outreach to them.
Just due to time, great point, Mario, on how to stay compliant and roll. I just want to answer one question, or have you guys answer one question from Elisa Kelly. This is going to be our last question. Alyssa says, hey, you guys have mentioned all these channels: social, phone, visiting, events, texting, video. I'm overwhelmed. We're new to all of this. How do we get started? And we'll give a minute to each of you, and then we want to go to the poll question and results for who won. So what's the best way to get started? And then we're going to see who won the fight.
Yeah, how do you want to do this? Mario, I think it's your turn. You want to go first?
Go ahead, Gabe. I just finished on that last one, so you first.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting started, I think the simplest thing, this is the problem with, I think you hear these big conversations, you hear these people saying they're getting deep into one method and they got data to prove it, and you're thinking, what's the baby step I do? And again, I think you got to go where your customer is. I mean, that's my thing. Go where your customer is. If you have literally one customer, go talk to them somehow and just say, where are you? Are you a business? Are you a glove manufacturer in Canada who doesn't do any social? Are you a trucking company that doesn't know anything about LinkedIn? Are you a tech company out of the Bay Area that you got a whole marketing team, 5 people that doing social all day? If you can talk to one customer and find out where they are, I'd start there. If they say I'm a trucking company and all I got is the phone, go with that. Start there.
Awesome. Find where your customers are and go where they are at. Mario, real quick, you got a minute, and then we're going to the fight results.
3 basic channels that you start with from a sales prospecting perspective as you're brand new. Keep the phone, keep your email, leverage LinkedIn. Those are going to be the 3 channels that I would tell you to start with. Then once you've mastered the art, and we can help you, Inside Sales can help you with that. We can help you with that. If you're a large sales team and you're trying to figure out what to do, in just a minute here, we'll give you a download, an asset that you can use for the digital selling benchmark report, right? As a sales leader. Once you've mastered those items and you really understand buyer persona and you understand how to be able to personalize to the individual, now you move on into leveraging things like video and layering things like artificial intelligence on top of those things. Fix the sales problem first, which is adjusting to the buyer and their need.
Love it. Love it. All right, guys, we are going to ask the audience who won the big main event tonight. And before we announce the results, as you guys vote, let's summarize the key takeaway from the event. We need to leverage all the channels. We need to personalize. We need to go where our prospects are going. We need to be innovative. We need to be open to using new technologies and new strategies to find, connect, and engage with our buyers in a smart, meaningful, valuable way. And also, you can leverage to do that. I'm the CEO and founder of Seamless.ai, Brandon Bornancin, the world's best sales and marketing intelligence platform. We're going to be giving everyone a free $1,000 license to the software. Use the referral code FIGHT when you sign up at Seamless.ai. And we're also interviewing these two fighters in our new book that we launched, The Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. You can pre-order a copy at secretsalesbook.com, where we interview hundreds of the top sales experts. And let's dive in to the poll results as we calculate them. We're going to give it another second, and then we're going to roll to the results.
This is it, Gabe. This is it.
Who do you think won? Was it in the right corner, digital selling, or the left corner, cold calling? It's going to be the judges will decide. The referees will decide. Wow.
Oh, man, you took it.
Wow. It's a tie.
That's what I'm talking about, Gabe. Speedy Gorilla Larsen, pretty face.
That option?
I got nothing to say.
You don't get a trophy if you tie. Or do you? I don't know. I don't know what day and age we are. No, that's awesome, guys. I want to thank both of you for showing up to the main event tonight and putting on one incredible battle with each other. Digital prospecting versus cold calling. I want to see a round two where we actually pick a winner and remove that they both won. No, but it's really exciting. All of these things work. Leverage the strategies. And thank you for tuning in. InsideSales.com, Ingresso, and Seamless.ai.
And don't forget the giveaways. There's some giveaways here that we've got.
Yeah, so as a thank you for attending the big fight, we've got some great giveaways. InsideSales.com is giving away a cadence audit, a definitive guide to cadence, game plans, and then Ingresso is giving a social audit, a digital marketing audit. Mario, if you've got anything else to add there.
Well, right there on the screen, you're hopefully seeing the link. Go ahead and click that link. That's for the cadence audit for InsideSales.com. And I would encourage you, whether you're using the phone or whatever your cadence might be, download that thing. And then here on the screen is the digital sales benchmark report. This is particularly for sales organizations that have a fair amount of sales folks. We will actually perform an assessment to show you where you're good and or strong and or weak at. So go ahead and click on that link and come on down. And then of course, email me.
Free licenses to the Seamless.ai as well, $1,000 license, and
use the code FIGHT.
Referral to the book. So
yeah,
thank you guys for tuning in.
Email me your Mario at Vingresso.com just to get the out of office reply, and you'll get a bunch of these things too as well. Don't forget to use that code for FIGHT.
Seamlesscontacts.com, and then Gabe Larsen, if you want to shoot out your contact info.
Yeah, man, I'd be offended if you didn't have me on LinkedIn after all my cold calling. Let's continue this dialogue on social.
Yeah,
connect with us on LinkedIn.
Call Gabe. Let's have everyone call Gabe today. Show him you're a fan of cold calling. Let's get some appointments scheduled to check out the brand new marketing AI platform for inside sales and sales acceleration. They're doing some great things over there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the fight. I hope you had an amazing evening. We're going to go out now on the strip in Vegas. We'll talk to you soon.
We good? Okay. Done. Clear.
Are we done?